What's up, guys? Welcome to the garage. And we're here finally. We finished the pit bike build. It's all the way done, completed, dressed up and looking right. And wanted to walk you guys through everything that we've done to this. So a little backstory real quick. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to build a track in the backyard and just bang bars with the brothers. And I figured, what the heck, I'm not getting any younger. Let's do this thing, let's do it right. And then after that, just enjoy it. And so me and my brother both bought pit bikes. We've been kind of competing back and forth and things got out of hand quick. Pretty much every bolt and nut has been touched on this. Any part that you can think of and dream of has been added to it. And working at Rocky, I've definitely helped like beef up our offering for pit bikes. And so we've developed parts, we've picked up parts, and really just, we have a full offering of pit bike parts that you can add to your bike now. And as you can see, make your bike just look one of a kind. It's been super fun putting this bike together, so I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it today and just show you everything that's been added. And we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Okay guys, first category is engine and performance. And just like the 250 class, it's all about how much power can you get out of this engine. So first things first, I went to the exhaust and it was a no-brainer after doing a little bit of research that Yoshimura had put the most research and time and development into their exhaust to make sure you're getting the most out of this engine. So it not only is a pound lighter than the stock exhaust, it looks like a big bike exhaust, but it also sounds great and you can rest assured that you're getting the most performance out of it. Moving right up, we've got the P3 carbon pipe exhaust guard. And guys, I use this bike for everything. Not only ripping on the pitter track, but also family use, camping. It's a wife bike. Occasionally I'll take the kids out to go get the mail or cruise around on the trails. So I wanted to rest assured that I wasn't going to melt anything on this pipe, keep it looking good, but also keep my little kids safe when I've got them on the bike with me. Next, let's jump to intake. So for those products, I went to CGR Performance. It was another no-brainer. If you guys have done any research on these bikes, Cameron Jones has done the work and he's put together some cool packages. So I went with the Stage 1 power package, which is just bolt-on parts. And so it comes with your bigger 24mm throttle body. It comes with the CNC'd intake manifold, and then it also includes your Deca new intake hose from your airbox feeding that throttle body. And that's a lot bigger than stock. Stock, it's really choked down and limits that airflow. So that was huge bolt-on upgrades. And then I also had him reflash my ECU. And so you basically just tell him everything that you've done to the bike, the fuel that you plan on running, all the mods that you've got on there, and he builds you a custom map and allows you to take full advantage of all that stuff working together. And that's really where the magic happens, guys. Huge power gains over stock setup. So stock, these things are supposedly coming with 6.5 horsepower. This thing now, as is supposed to be anywhere from 9.5 to 10 horsepower. So that's like over 50% horsepower gains. You also get a little boost in torque, which is huge. Super cool to have on this bike. The thing rips now. It's cool to see how noticeable just a few bolt-on parts what a difference it can make on this bike. So one more thing with the intake is the Tusk quick draw air filter system. So this is another really cool product that we put together at Rocky. And what this is it eliminates your stock air filter cage, which has a screen and a backfire screen on it. And so you can kind of eliminate that stock, but this is just a bolt-on kit that fully gets rid of that and allows you to run a free, wide open air filter system that just, again, allows you to feed as much air into that throttle body. That gets mixed with the fuel and runs through the motor and out the exhaust. So all together, all these parts are working and just making this motor a powerhouse of a little motor that's super fun to ride. And that does it for the motor on this thing. Now, you guys could get totally crazy and do big bore kits and camshaft, full race heads, valves. Pretty much you could throw the kitchen sink at it if you wanted to. But like I said, I really wanted to just make this thing stock and reliable, good power increases. And overall, it's noticeably faster. Like I said, my brother actually has the KLX110, and in stock form, his bike felt like it had way more bottom end. It felt faster and just more aggressive throughout the whole power range. And this thing just blows the doors off now. like I said, it's been super cool to see just what a little bit of money and bolt-on parts can do for this bike. Next category is controls. Now, when you're an adult riding a small bike, you got to make it fit you a little bit better and make it more comfortable when you're riding it. So first up was bars. I went with the ODI Podium 7/8 50-110 bar on this bike. Now this essentially gets you a full width bar, a big bike bar, and then you're also getting 7 inches of height out of these things. Obviously that's going to make it way more comfortable for a big guy on a little bike. Now when you go to taller bars, you have to do a few things. You have to get longer throttle cables. So these are the BBR extended throttle cable. It's 3 inches longer than stock and just allows you to get that extra length. I also went with a longer brake cable. This is from Motion Pro. And then I also went to the ODI V2 lock-on grips, and these are my go-tos. This is a real cheap and easy way to get that extended throttle. Stock, the tube on these bikes is really short, and so this is an easy way to just bolt that on and be a lot more comfortable on the bars. Next up is the BBR triple clamp kit. Now these things are super cool and they're worth their weight. Now let me tell you about them. First off, they do raise your bars up a little bit, but they also have some forward and back positions that you can really dial in your bar position and get it exactly where you want to be running them. They're also dual pinch bolts, top and bottom, so it adds rigidity. And another cool feature is you can run stock height with your fork height, but you can also drop them in the clamps an inch and get extra height out of the front end of the bike. Now another cool thing is they are claiming that you're saving 2 pounds with these things over the stock clamps. That seems like a lot, but if that's actually what you're saving, I mean, any weight savings is gonna help increase your power to weight ratio, right? So anything like that is good. But overall, bars and controls, this is one of the first things I would do. We do offer kits that come with all of this in one, so just check those out on our website. Moving on with Rider Triangle, let's talk about the BBR tall seat. This thing is a bolt-on upgrade. Obviously with bigger riders, it's just nice to get a little extra height out of your seat and just make the ride way more comfortable. And to finish out this category, let's jump down to the foot pegs and foot controls. Now first thing, I'd put a folding tip shift lever on this bike. I've got the Tusk one on here, and that's just important to prevent from bending that shift shaft. I've also got the Pro Circuit shift shaft brace on this thing. And the shift shaft just hangs out quite a ways on these little motors, and they're easy to bend, especially with that not bending shift lever stock. So that's important, couple upgrades on this bike. And then now let's talk about the foot peg bar kit. Now this is the Tusk one. We've built these kits, and a couple cool things about these is with really any of the aftermarket peg bars, they basically adapt you to YZ mount foot pegs. So with that, the options are limitless with what pegs you want to run. But we've put these kits together. You cannot beat the price. We've got some different foot peg options for you to choose from. And not only are these a lot stronger than the stock peg bar, but they get you into those other options for foot pegs. So a cool bolt-on kit that you really just cannot beat the price of. And while we're down here, let's jump right over to protection. So the Tusk aluminum skid plate and the Tusk low profile magnetic drain plug are the first upgrades I would do to any CRF110. It doesn't matter if you're riding track or trails. It doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult. These are the first upgrades that I would do to the CRF. And here's why. That drain plug stock hangs down really low, and it's the first thing you're gonna contact and potentially break. Whether you case a jump or you hit a rock or a root or a log or anything like that, and it's gonna leave you with costly repairs. So a little bit of cheap insurance is at least adding that low profile drain plug, but I would, guys, on any of these bikes, add a skid plate to just protect that whole underside of the motor and give you peace of mind and cheap insurance. Now moving on, let's talk about the Tusk frame cradle kit. So as I mentioned before, the foot peg bar, it mounts straight into the motor. And I haven't personally seen guys pull the threads out, but I've heard of it happening. And so what this does is it reinforces those mounts for the peg bar, and it basically distributes that weight and force and load back into the frame of the motorcycle. And so it's another just cheap insurance item that beefs up and makes your bike overall stronger for bigger, faster, more aggressive riders. The last product in protection that I got to talk about is the P3 Carbon Max Coverage Temp Sensor Guard. Stock, you do have a little guard that covers this, and that's decent, but this thing gives you just a lot more coverage for not only that sensor, but all the wiring and everything that just goes up that left side of the engine. I have heard of these sensors breaking when you do get a rock or something else kicked up in there, so another piece of cheap insurance just to really bulletproof this bike. All right, moving on to suspension and chassis, another super important category for this bike. And let's look at the forks first. So obviously I went with the BBR damping rod set, and these are a huge upgrade for this bike. You get an inch more travel in the fork just installing those damping rods. And that's important because stock, this bike is really small. It feels like a mini bike, especially compared to my brother's KLX110. When they were side by side, it was noticeably shorter. So adding that extra inch of travel up front was really important, getting those to kind of the same height as each other. And then also these have smaller orifices or valving to slow down that compression and rebound and really give you better feedback and better hold up for faster, more aggressive riding. And then with the fork springs, I installed the BBR fork spring kit. These things again are just a heavier duty spring. Stock, you're looking at a 48 spring, and these are a 62. So you're jumping a few rates, which is great. Again, it's gonna give you more hold up and just allow for more aggressive riding on this bike. Right now, I'm running 15 weight oil in these forks and went a little on the light side because I didn't wanna feel like I'm riding a 2x4. And these things are working well. I really don't bottom as much as I thought I might. So really happy with the fork setup right now. All right, now jumping back to the shock. Now guys, I thought that I'd be stuck just buying a full replacement shock for this thing. We were blowing through the stock suspension on these bikes when we first got them, and front and rear. And so just to get me by, I decided to go with the BBR shock spring. Now I thought there was no way that the shock would have any valving control over that spring, but honestly, it feels really good. I've been super impressed with it so far on the bike. My brother upgraded to a full aftermarket shock, and to be honest, this thing feels a lot better. It's way more plush, but it still has the hold up that you need to ride aggressive like we are. Yeah, so this shock spring, it's super easy to install, and to be honest, you cannot beat it for 100 bucks. All right, and moving down from the shock, we've got the stock comp swing arm from BBR. Now this is another cool upgrade for these bikes. It not only adds strength and rigidity to the back end, it also adds length to the overall bike. So it's really important when you're a big guy on a small bike to have that stability, and it's just gonna give you confidence when you're going fast and riding aggressive. So a couple cool details about this swing arm is it's 6061 heat treated, TIG welded aluminum. And so it's really just gonna stand the test of time, it's gonna hold up. It also gives you modern axle adjustment. So with the blocks and just a standard style chain adjustment. And so you can accurately and quickly dial in your chain slack. I really like that about it because the stock setup is a little janky. Your bolts are back there vulnerable behind the swing arm. So that's a cool upgrade for me. This also includes your brake rod extender that you need for the longer length. And then it also comes with your chain guide. So a cool upgrade that you're getting with the swing arm kit. And as you can see, our Tusk chain guide also works with the swing arm. I've also added the BBR adjustable kickstand on this bike. Now, after you raise these bikes up, they lean way over on the stock kickstand. So it bugged me a little bit, but I ended up pulling the trigger on this BBR kickstand. Now, it's adjustable, so it's got 13 different positions. So it really doesn't matter what mods you've got on your bike. You're gonna be able to dial it in and get it sitting exactly where you want it. And the last thing in this category is the BBR chain roller motor mount bolt. So anytime you're adding height or length to the back end of these bikes, you run the risk of derailing your chain because your chain's getting longer. And so to keep that running straight, I added this bolt roller. And so it just replaces one of your motor mounts and gets you that roller to keep you running straight. But it also is a 12.9 grade bolt, which is an upgrade over the stock setup on this bike. All right, guys, next category is tires and wheels. Now, there's nothing better than a red bike sitting on some black wheels. And so that was a must-have for me. So I went with the BBR black aluminum hoops, and I also got their HD spoke kits, front and rear. So let's talk about the hoops first. These are aluminum, which is not only lighter than your stock steel hoops, but they're also stronger. It's 7000 series aluminum, and that is taking away unsprung weight for this bike. So it's gonna make that more flickable, it's gonna make your ride better, but it's also cool that you're bulletproofing your wheels. With the spokes, these things are heavier duty than your stock ones. It's an HD kit, and one little detail with the front is they do make you drill out one side to just a little bit bigger diameter holes in the hub to fit those HD spokes. So it was a little bit of an inconvenience, but nothing that we couldn't handle on this bike. Obviously, I've got those laced up to my stock hubs. I had the hubs Cerakoted black, so they all went with the same theme. And cool that I've just bulletproofed these wheel sets, under 400 bucks. These things are perfectly true, running right, and it's nice to know that they're gonna hold up for a long, long time. Now to wrap those new wheels, I added the Tusk T35 MX tires. Now, one really cool thing about these is up until this point, and this bike actually, none of the major manufacturers offered a true front replacement for these little bikes. They're basically forcing you to run a narrower tire. Stock, this is a 7100, and all the aftermarkets were 6100. And so it was important to us to bring this tire to market. And so this is a true stock replacement for these bikes. You're not forced to run a narrower tire on front if you want to. These tires are soft intermediate tires, and they're pretty aggressive little tire set on this little bike. So in the dirt, on the trails, they work great everywhere. They hook up, and I haven't had any complaints or issues with them, honestly. And they're cheap enough that you have no excuse to have fresh tires on your little pit bike. Talking about rim locks, so I did add a rim lock to the rear, and it's cool because the BBR wheels already come with holes for those rim locks. I ended up plugging the hole in the front wheel because I haven't had any flat issues with that, and I'm just trying to keep the weight down, and I'm not going to address that until I have to. All right, let's quickly cover the drive components on this bike. So first thing is the chain. I've got the Tusk 420 gold race chain on this bike, and I bought just a longer length because I've got that extended swing arm, and I just cut it to length. And that's wrapped around my primary drive aluminum sprocket. Now, I'm still running stock gearing on this bike. I was pretty happy with where the gears were at. I just wanted a little bit more motor to pull those gears. And I think I've got that with the mods that we've got on the motor. So still running stock gearing, but we do offer multiple sizes around the stock gearing, so you guys can play and adjust that stock gearing as you want. I've got that sprocket mounted up with our Tusk tie sprocket bolt kit, which just looks super trick. That mixed with the gold chain just got this bike looking factory. And then to just keep this running straight, I got to talk about the Tusk chain guide real quick. So this is just much cheaper than other options on the market. It's cheap insurance. If you're dragging ruts, the last thing you want to do is drop a chain and potentially go into your case. So just cheap insurance for these little bikes. Jumping forward, I've got the Tusk front sprocket guard. The stock one is pretty decent. It covers that whole thing, but this thing just gives you a little more protection for your engine case, and it looks factory, right? So gotta look trick on these little bikes. The next category is electrical, and we've got 3 products to talk about. The first one is the Tusk bump start kit, and this is one of the first things I came across when I started researching these bikes. I didn't think it would be as big of a pain in the butt as it is, but it turned out to be pretty dang annoying. So what this kit allows you to do is not have to jam your bike down into neutral to start it. It gets you around that. You could start it in any gear, first, second, third, or fourth if you wanted to. But it's an easy, cheap bolt-on item that just makes the daily use of this bike a lot easier. Now the next item is the hour meter. I bolted on a Tusk hour meter, and this just makes maintenance a whole lot easier and keeping track of that. The last product in this category is the Tusk Lithium Pro battery. Obviously the stock battery is just fine, but this thing shaves weight big time over the stock battery. And so anytime you can save weight, you're increasing your power to weight ratio, and if you can do it, why not? And that brings us to our last category, which is the other or bling category. So real quick, let me run you through the products that are making this bike look really good. So first up is the billet aluminum engine plug kit. We've also got the billet aluminum gas cap, and then the steering stem nut as well. As you can see, I've also got the P3 carbon tank cover. It just looks good, guys. You cannot deny that. I've also got the Tusk Kickstarter cap. So I ditched the Kickstarter to save some weight. And so we've got this little cap to protect and cover that shaft. And then I also went through and just Cerakoted a bunch of parts. So I Cerakoted the hubs, the fork lowers, and then engine covers. So the cylinder head cover and then both sides, I did a bronze color on the motor, and I think it just turned out freaking awesome. I love the way this bike looks. And moving up to the plastics, we went to a Cherubies for a full plastic kit for this bike, obviously all red, keeping with the theme. And I wrapped those plastics with an Attack Graphics red on red kit. It's just cool to have all the brands that were involved with this build repped on your graphics, and just super happy with how this bike came out. It turned out exactly how I envisioned it when we started this build. So that is it, guys. That is the build on the CRF110 pit bike. All that's left to do now is just enjoy it for years to come with the wife and kids and banging bars with the boys at the track. So hopefully this gives you some ideas for things you can do on your bike. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them below. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Of course, all these parts and accessories are available on our website, so check that out and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already for more cool content like this. Thanks for watching.